But when I found this out, I was through the roof. I was beyond livid. Like, let me say,
Welcome back, everybody, to the Targeting Podcast.
yes, sir.
Boys, how are we doing today?
We're doing wonderful.
Doing absolutely great, man. Summer's coming to an end though, but you're living it up. He's in Hawaii right now. For
I'm
the
in
viewers
Hawaii
out
right
there.
now.
Hawaii, wee.
Right now it's 5 p.m., so that means it's 11 p.m. for you guys?
It is 11. Yeah.
Screw you. It's like 11 here. Yeah, come on.
Yeah, my bad. Sorry. Yeah, I still haven't gotten adjusted.
Off, huh?
I still haven't gotten adjusted to the time change. I might go to bed soon.
I was gonna say this kid literally texted me like, "I'm ready to go." With the pod. I was like, "Dude, it's probably like 7 a.m. there." Kids
Time
up all day, sleeping all night.
Time change has not been friendly, but yeah, the boys are back. We struggled this summer with episodes, but it's just been a
busy summer. We're dealing with COVID for all that time, and it might be coming back around. You just got to take advantage of all the time you can get just to relax and stuff, just to have a good summer. But I know.
But the boys are back, and we're going to talk today about big NHL news. So we're not going to quite do Player of the Week because, there's nothing really for
the off season now for the most part.
Yeah, so there's nothing really.
It's kind of a big Player of the Week with all these big moves by big teams now.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it was kind of tough to pick a time to jump in here with all the NHL news with the Kraken expansion and the draft and now free agency, but it seems like a pretty good time to hop in. Vladimir Tarasenko still has not signed, but there are a couple other names too that haven't signed. But for the most part, everyone's got their landing spots, and there's a ton of hockey news,
Let's kick it off with the Bees, huh?
Yeah, definitely. Let's get right into it. Let's start
hometown, baby.
All right, big moves at the moment with the Bees. I'll just send it off, though, in the beginning with thank you so much to Big 46 there. It was an honor.
Yep.
It's been a privilege. David Krejci is heading back to the Czech Republic.
It's completely understandable. His reasons are understandable. He's from there. He wants his family to grow up there, and he'll continue to play hockey over there. But yeah,
his family, I don't think, has probably seen him play once.
Just a guy, an ultimate legend, ultimate Bruin. And yeah, respect to him, and hopefully hope for the best for his family and himself back over there and wherever he lives in the earth.
And now everyone knows Krejci was everyone knows Krejci in the playoffs just put a different dial on it. And that was just what we love to see on our team. Yep. But you know what? He will be missed. And I kind of saw it coming when we signed two big centers.
You know what, though? It sucks because he finally, it feels like for so many years now, that second line, he's just been dying for a good set of wingers to go around him. And we finally gave him that with Halsey and Craig Smith. That line was so great. It really sucks to lose him in the middle. But
you know what? Would you rather lose him to go and the reason he had, or would you rather lose him to another team? I like the reason he had.
Right. A lot of other moves for the Bruins as well.
Yeah, now that Krejci's out at center, we got Hala and Nosek.
And Foligno as well we brought in.
And Foligno. So I feel like Foligno's going to step in as the veteran player there with Halsey and Craig Smith. And I feel like that actually will probably mesh well together because Foligno and Krejci have very similar playing style, same age. So they both have aged like fine wine. They don't skate as fast as they used to. So obviously Halsey and Craig Smith are going to play as if Krejci is still there, living vicariously through Foligno. So I like that move there by the Bees. We've always tried to go for a veteran player like Iginla in 13, Yager as well. That's just the moves we make, and I like that.
How do you guys like these moves in terms of helping us get closer to a cup? Do you think it gets us closer? Do you think
it definitely gets us closer? I think because we added some depth, which was exactly what we were missing this year on this run. So that's huge to get the depth back, bringing in some good third, fourth line forwards, and on the back end, rounding out a pretty solid defensive unit now. Bringing in Forbert, we got to bring back Mike Riley and Brandon Carlos. Now we're looking at Carlo McAvoy, Grizz, Forbert, Clifton, and it's a good unit there. I think goaltending wise, bringing in Linus Altmark was a steal. It didn't look like we were really going to go out and do much in the goaltending area this year. And then all of a sudden we went out and got a 27-year-old young prospect, younger guy that's really just rising up in this league. Had a great year with Buffalo, despite somehow managed to have a winning record in Buffalo this year, despite them being just absolutely horrible.
We did protect Vladar, and then we traded him for a pick, which might have been a smart choice. I mean, Vladar definitely had a lot of potential, but he seemed to just be doing very well in the PC Bruins area. And then, I mean, after that, he kind of just like when he got to the pros, he kind of just like like any kid, he just didn't do as well. Swayman seemed to be the kid that stepped up more, and I like how we still got him.
And I honestly was 100% expecting us to be running into this year with Rask being injured, running into the year with Swayman as our starter, and to just upgrade from Swayman to Linus Ullmark is incredible. We gave him a 4-year, $5 million deal too.
I'm confident even having Swayman run a couple games after.
And I was too. I like Swayman. I was fine with that. And Rask comes back hopefully around playoff time. But now we have Ullmark and Rask. Who knows what we end up doing with Rask now? He still has not signed either. But now we have just it's way easier for us to now look what we have and decide what we want to do with Rask because we have Ullmark locked up for 4 years now. A young goalie that's going to be good for a number of years. So closer to a cup, yes. It really does suck that David Krejci is gone because I really think that second line production was literally so crucial to what we were doing and what this team was about. But hopefully we'll have a guy slide in there, whether it is Foligno, whether it is Howell, whether it is Charlie Coyle, whoever it ends up being. Maybe it is Charlie Coyle too. I mean, who knows? But that line needs to be good. And Hall, we paid Hall a lot of money now. We obviously re-signed Taylor Hall as well. And that line needs to continue to produce, and they need to be good. So
we're gonna have Foligno locked up for 2 years, Hall for 4, and I honestly predict that Marshy will probably be there for 4 years with Halsey, and I think Bergy will probably be there for the 2 that Foligno is. That's my prediction, and Rask as well in the 2-year mark, maybe because he is aging and he's also been injured a lot. So I honestly think this year is going to be our production year, and this is going to be our year to run for it. If we fall short, the next season is going to be the time where guys are going to be looking to come to our team for a cup run, hopefully, if we produce well and we play well. And that last year is going to be it. Everyone's going to be on the out with restricted free agency, retiring, and then we're going to have a rebuild. That's my guess.
Let me ask you boys this, and Jerry, you probably first. What do you think, how many more years would you give Rask right now, knowing that he's injured for the next 6 months? How many, and knowing that he's getting up there in age?
What, he's 30?
No, he's older than that. Let me clarify. Let me get that exact number.
30, 33, 34?
He is 34.
Yeah.
And going into having surgery where he's now out 6 to 8 months. So, I mean, it's tough. And we just paid Linus Ullmark. So now what exactly do we want to do with Rask? We want to give him a 1 year type of thing, a 2 year, maybe extend it out to 3. He probably wouldn't sign a 3 right away. He probably wants to see how his body handles.
I can tell you. I'll let Jerry go first, but I know what I think I'm going to say.
I think I would, if I was the Bruins right now, I think I'd give him a 2-year deal, because that way, if it works out with your other goalies, and you don't really need him, then you only have another year on his contract to kind of not deal with him, but just to have him. But worst case scenario, it's not working out for you this year with your other goaltenders. Swayman's not doing well. If Rask comes back and he can step up, then great. He can step up this year, and you have another full year without him, hopefully injury free. So I think a 2-year deal would be good for him. Nothing more. I think if you give him a 1 year and he's out or he doesn't produce, I think it would just be a waste.
I mean, if we give him a 1 year and Linus Ullmark is rolling and Rask comes back healthy, but we don't play him because Ullmark is playing so good, and then Rask, that's just the end of Rask because his contract's up and we don't give another one. Ullmark's rolling. He doesn't really ever get a chance to show himself again. I agree. I think 2 is probably.
I'm gonna be honest. I think again, I'm not very good now with contract rules. That's where it gets tough. Every league is different, and sometimes they just mesh, and I don't know. But what I would do is I would give him.
Like if you're trying to think of if you're trying to say like a team option where it's like a 1 year and then a second year that the team gets to decide if they want to pick it up, that's basketball.
That's what I'm thinking is it's not hockey, but that's what I'm thinking. Now, obviously that's not a thing in hockey, but what I'm saying is I would want to lock him up for a year. But the thing is that I have confidence in Ullmark, and not only that, but you have Swayman on the back end. And he's got Rask as a mentor while he's injured. Not only that, but we have a great core for Swayman to produce in. I'm going to be honest with you. Rask had his Vesna seasons. He had his the William Jennings, were the top two goalies, and
I know. Yep, I know what you're
him and
talking about.
Halak, and I think him and Thomas or whatever his name
Yeah.
was before. But my point is, Rask is a lockdown goalie. He's a great guy, and I would want him for 2 more years. To be honest with you, though, I don't think he's going to see a full season of play in those 2 years. I think honestly, Rask will play like Halak did. I think Rask.
He'll never see a full season of play again because he's already said
I think Rask will end up being Halak. I think at this point, his position now has become Halak, and Halak again, great guy. He went to the Canucks actually because they let up Braden Holtby, I believe. But that I just think Rask is. I think just Rask is going to give him. I'd give him a 1-year deal, mind you. I think we would definitely have the goalie market seems to be flipping every single year all over the place, and I think a guy will be freed up that's pretty young. I would be happy even snagging like a Ben Bishop for a season just for a veteran guy. I mean, he's only 33 as well, or 34, so he's Rask's age as well. So this market is, it's flip flopping every single season. And no one wants to pick up Rask. Rask is already going to be out of
That's the thing. It's a good question that Justin poses because it's like, what does he do if you don't sign him? And it's like, he's probably not going to go anywhere else. I feel like a 2-year deal both helps him and it helps the Bruins organization.
Yeah, and for probably low money at this point with him being injured and really his future unclear.
I'd honestly go 2 years. I'd go 2 years, $2 million. Like I'm giving him the bare minimum here.
Justin, what do you?
I definitely agree with all that. I think just to have him there, I'd give him 2 years just so you have 2 more chances that if you come around, the playoffs come around and you don't have a guy that you're really in love with at the exact time. I think knowing all the experience Rask has under his belt and the number of Stanley Cup runs he has made, that experience is priceless. And we just saw Carey Price and Marc-Andre Fleury both get to the Final Four this year in their older age just because of their experience. And they just turned it on. They found a gear that they just took over and just became a cement wall that nobody could score on. I think Rask has that gene in him. And even despite him aging each year, I think that doesn't go away. No matter how old you get, it only actually gets better with experience. So you never know. That could always happen.
It's just a thing. It seems like it's just like kind of something in your back pocket that you can have during playoff time. That's what I'm kind of thinking of right now. It's like, all right,
exactly.
If Ullmark's out, and like, because we saw it this playoffs, it was like Rask is out. Oh, we're going to put Swayman in it. How many goals are we going to let up? And this time it's like, all right, our backup's Rask. So it's not like the game's not over before it starts. It's not like we have to score 3 or 4 goals to make sure we're in the game. So I view it as more just to kind of something you can pull out your back pocket in the playoffs. I'm sure he doesn't want to be the main goalie. I'm sure he just wants to take a back seat. And that's not a guy who, if we put in, we're going to be like, oh shit, we're not going to win.
Oh, I get that. Now I got a question for you boys that we can wrap up the Bruins talk with, if you want.
Sure. Yeah.
Do you think this season or this offseason, sorry, this free agency, and I'll give you the specs in a second before you answer. Do you think we gained, lost, or we broke even? Now we lost.
Definitely. You want? I can go right away.
Well, we will. Let me just list it out for Jerry though. We lost Vladar, a rookie prospect at goalie.
Yep.
Showtime.
Andres Cash, Showtime Sean, Corrali, and why am I forgetting the other one? Halak and
Jared Tenorti.
And Jared Tenorti. Now what we gained was we got Hall back, we got Foligno, we got Holla, Noshik, Forbert, and
Riley back, and Ullmark.
And Riley and Ullmark. Now, I mean, it's a pretty fairly easy question in my opinion. I say we gained. Justin, I think you're
undoubtedly say we gained, and actually, in a rare occasion, I'm tipping my cap rather to Don Sweeney. He did a fantastic job. He woke up on day one. One time, exactly. He woke up on day one of NHL free agency and made a bunch of phone calls and made a bunch of plays. And this was before David Krejci announced his retirement. And we had just brought in all these pieces. It was an incredible job.
I think the nicest part, though, is I think David Krejci probably let us know, gave us a little tip because we signed 2 cents immediately.
And then we went and spent the money, that we would have needed for him. So, yeah.
Now, what I think is the problem is right now, I don't think Rask is told the team what his plans are, especially with surgery. And I think the team's trying to hold off and see how the surgery goes, because obviously if there's a complication there, they won't.
I think the surgery. I think he had the surgery. I think he's good now. He's just in recovery.
But my thing is, I think our best pickup, not including signings, if we're including re-signs, obviously I love the Hall re-signing. But I think my favorite signing personally was Forbert, because now we have a body on defense. He's like 6'6", I believe, 6'5".
We genuinely have 6 good defenders now. Like I'm very happy with our defensive core, because last year we never had that.
Nick Ritchie, complete goon, not even good offensively. He was out there for a body. Forbert now is the body.
And I think that was a good job by Don Sweeney as well to not pay Nick Ritchie. I think that was a great decision as well.
That was a very smart decision. I didn't want to pay him anything. And now he got a two-year, and so did Andre Cash. I think
they both went to Toronto.
Million, I think 2 years, $2
million.
And
both to Toronto. Yep. So I know, and I think, and we were just talking about the whole goalie situation for a number of minutes there, but my biggest thing is Linus Ullmark. I mean, that guy's a stud, and out of nowhere we got him. There were no rumors of that or nothing, and all of a sudden on day one of free agency, he's ours. That was huge to me, and he's the future goaltender for the Boston Bruins now. I can't stress that enough. As much as I would love to see Rask have a surprise playoff experience down the road here in the near future, I just don't see it necessarily. And I think Linus Ullmark is going to be on a tear, and that's why Rask won't really get the chance, because Ullmark is the guy. But great job by Don Sweeney and the Bruins. Any other thoughts, or you want to get to Seattle?
Well, no, yeah, I think we should get right into Seattle. Immediately. I'm like, honestly, Seattle.
Wait, do you want me to start off? So the recent news, at least coming on my end, I don't know. So what time is it over there? It's like 11 p.m.
11:15.
Okay, so this came in at like 11:15. So this came in around like 9. I don't know if this is new, or 8 maybe.
I think I know what you're gonna say.
The goaltending situation.
The Grubauer deal fell through.
Yeah, it fell through.
So what happened with that? I saw that alert and instantly read the article about it, because I was like, "Whoa, that's really, really bad for them." I don't know if you did the same, but
yeah.
What I will say is, it looks like they got rejected because of the way that they spread out the money. You're not allowed to have the following year in like a multi-year deal be more than 25% more than the prior year. So they just messed it up by like a couple $100,000. Yeah. So they're going to rework I think they already reworked the contract and have resubmitted it for approval, which it probably will be approved. So he probably will end up in Seattle. But my heart jumped when I saw that too, for them, obviously. I don't love the whole idea of the expansion, but
I think
it is what it is now, and that would have been a nightmare for them. That
was just poor math on their part. But we talked about their signings on the goaltender end seem to be actually. Let me just say it in general. Their signings overall, besides Mark Giordano, what was it, Alessia?
Jamie Alexiak, and obviously they brought in Jordan Eberle, who's basically the face of the
Adam
franchise
Larson. Now. Besides those big names, which I'll be honest, there were probably 5 or 6 out of 30 teams. The rest were all like AHL prospects.
I would say, I think what you're trying to say here is that they botched the expansion draft, and I would agree. I think they did a bad job. And I understand that a couple days later, for agency open, they did a pretty good job. They brought in Wenberg. They brought in, obviously, Grubauer. They brought in a couple good names that they brought in Schultz as well. So they've done some good things in free agency. Schwartz. And they needed that. They needed to leave themselves. Yeah, Schwartz is what I meant to say, not Schultz. I meant to say George Schwartz, not Justin Stolz. Anyways, I think knowing that they now, in hindsight, they did do some things in free agency, it's better. But the night of the expansion draft, man, it was ugly. Like, I was really thinking, what have they done? The pool of players that they were open to picking, and the team that they ended up with, it was pretty scary how bad they messed up. Jordan Eberle was really the only good name.
They actually,
as far as like just a real building block, I mean,
Mark Giordano was also a big.
He is, but he's pretty old, and they almost traded him right on the expansion draft night. There was almost a deal that sent him away right on the night up.
I'm looking at another thing is, so we were talking about it is for goalies they signed basically Vanacek, who I actually liked that signing, but guess what? They sent him right back to the Caps.
Yep, I know, and they were literally looking at their options for goalies was like Carey Price, Braden Holtby, Marc-Andre Fleury. Like their options were ridiculous, dude. And Martin Jones, they had some younger options. Tuukka, Ben Bishop, dude, their options were insane, and they ended up with Chris Drieger as the best goalie on the roster. I get that they went and brought in Grubauer, who was unbelievable for Colorado, and gave him the huge deal, and that's an unbelievable goalie. But on the night of the expansion draft, I was horrified for them. Drieger was the best goalie they ended up with. He would have been my third best goalie at the end of the day. I would have taken him, but he would have been my third pick.
If you're going to have 3 goalies automatically from the expansion draft, right? Because that's required. I think you got to pick 3 goalies.
Yeah.
And I think if you have, I mean, it's guaranteed. I think they were deciding. Maybe they talked before about getting Philip Grubauer from Avs, so that's why they probably saved up the space.
Right.
Let's say you get Philip Grubauer, right? Free agency. There's your starter. Now they got Vanacek.
Now do you have Drieger as the backup?
Now they have Vanacek and Drieger. But first of all, they got rid of Vanacek, so Drieger's your second best now. So here's my thing: if you're planning on getting rid of Vanacek anyways, why get Chris Drieger? Why not go for it? And instead of getting Vanacek that you're going to get rid of, get Chris Drieger and get like a Ben Bishop. So then Drieger's set it up with Grubauer and Ben Bishop and then Drieger. And now you got 2 veterans. And then after that one season, sell out Ben Bishop after a 1-year contract for something, because he's still 34 and he's still worth something before he's worth nothing. Because those types of goalies like Fleury will be playing till they're 37 or 40 years old. I'm just going to say it. They're going to.
And which is actually the exact reason why I would be okay to give Rask a deal, but we're not still on that.
Right.
I know, dude, it was pretty crazy, but a couple days later now, sitting back, looking at that roster, they're going to be competitive. I think Vegas did a better job with their expansion process. I don't know how you guys feel about that. Whether you think Vegas or Seattle did better, but
I think they did. I think
and
Vegas
it's hard to say because we haven't seen them put the puck to the ice yet. So I mean, maybe they will just go into there, and maybe they'll go to the fucking finals in their first year ever. But I don't know. I don't really see it per se, although I didn't really with Vegas necessarily either. But
I mean,
I don't know.
Vegas.
It was interesting. I'm glad as a Bruins fan that all we lost was Jeremy Lauzon. I like shout out to Lauzon, pretty good player, but not a bad casualty for us.
Not a bad casualty. I thought it was Clifton. I would have been a little more heartbroken, but
yeah,
honestly,
definitely.
I think Vegas did a more solid job, and now actually they've lost 2 players to the Bruins, Hala and Noshik from their draft, from their original draft in 2017. Now I think like England and Marchessault were great pickups for them, and they seem to have melded into a great team. I mean, they've made, what was that now? 1 cup run and 2 playoff appearances almost to the finals. So they've been a solid team every year. But obviously, for an expansion team, that's unbelievable. Expansion teams are lucky if they can get a good playoff run. But obviously, I think Seattle's going to be competitive. I think that they could have had a lot more, more smart options out there for themselves. Especially, I mean, like Seattle went with the veteran goalie Marc-Andre Fleury in their draft, and they did fucking phenomenal. I mean, they got Philip Grubauer at Seattle, but like, it seems like Seattle threw away a lot of guys that they signed in their expansion draft. They picked up 2 guys and got rid of them immediately.
Yeah, no, I think they definitely could have done better. It's hard to tell. Like, we can't make any predictions whether they're going to be competitive or not. I personally don't think. I think Vegas obviously did it. Not obviously, but seemingly did a better job considering where they're at now and looking at this Kraken team, like where they could be. But it's hard to tell. It's tough. I don't know. Given what they had, I'm shocked at how the roster turned out. But I don't know how you guys
definitely made a lot of good pickups. But for example, like you take Jared McCann from Toronto instead of Kerfoot. Like, I don't know. Like, you had a lot of better options even at Toronto. I mean, they took Yanni Gourde from Tampa, which was great. Now I know McCann maybe is a little on the younger side, if I remember, but like, and maybe they see something in him. But Kerfoot.
Do you guys think it could have been Do you think it could have been a case of? This might sound stupid, but do you think it could have been a case of they felt somewhat guilty? Not guilty. I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but Vegas,
no, I think as an expansion team, there's still a lot, because here's the thing: as an expansion team now, you have obviously all your front office people, but none of them have worked together, and this is a new team entirely. So there's no established like like the Bruins, have been established since the original six. They have a system. They have a way of running things even since then. They have a system. They know what they do, and they've had a legacy to look at. Seattle doesn't. So they're starting from the ground up here. And the president, the GM are all going to want something different than the coaches. And the coaches are going to want something different from the fans and from everyone else. And I think that expectations are not reality here. And unfortunately, I feel like that the president is trying to look long-term for younger guys, and the coach wants to build a team that wants to go to the cup right away, and none of it's realistic. And so the fans are trying to find the perfect happy medium, and you have to also play to the fans. You're in a new area that has not had a hockey team ever, a professional one. So as a Seattle home base, you can't expect, Las Vegas Golden Knights, they immediately have all this money because they're in Las Vegas. And they have a great amount of cap space going into their first season. They try to pick up all the big names, and they want to make the cup run, and they did in their first couple seasons. But they obviously fell short. And I think that the city fails to realize how hard it is to, one, win a cup, and two, to just expect a team to be good after an expansion draft. And that's where it comes in. Is all these coaches have to work together in this new system. There's no legacy. That's the biggest part I can emphasize here.
I think that's exactly right. It's just simply that I think they're just looking into the future and honestly probably doing the smarter thing. And it's not the flashy thing that fans probably want to see out in Seattle, but probably the smart move at the end of the day is just building up the younger talent, and then going to free agency and spending money on some names that'll make you competitive. I think that was probably a good play by them.
I respect it. And honestly, if they come out of this after 2-3 seasons with a couple guys from this expansion draft who are prospects and young starters for these teams, and those guys are now worth a couple million that they can ship off to other teams for better veterans after a couple seasons, they've won it. If that happens, but that's a big if. And that's kind of what Vegas did a little bit with a couple of their players. And,
there's something that you boys might not have noticed even, and it probably was about to make you heated if you didn't know this already. But when I found this out, I was through the roof. I was beyond livid. Like, let me say, Vegas was excluded from the expansion draft. They did not have to lose a player in this draft. Did you know that?
Because they were under the 5-year, I think.
Because they were previously expanded.
Because
they did not have to do the expansion draft. They have been in the Western Conference Final, in the Final Four of the NHL for 3 of their 4 years of existence. To the Stanley Cup Final, one of them. And they did not have to be in it because they would think that they'd have to participate in the expansion draft. They did not lose anybody because they were newly expanded, and they would be at a disadvantage if they had to lose a player somehow. I guess the logic behind that.
Who made the 5-year rule?
I didn't know the 5-year rule until John just said that. But I know they were excluded because they were previously expanded.
I don't know if it's a 5-year rule, but I swear to God, I don't know if it's the NHL or if I just heard this or I'm just going insane now.
Right?
But
it's embarrassing. It's not okay.
That it may just be, Justin, it may just be me making this up, but I swear that what's his name? Is it? Oh, fuck. I swear Gary Bettman said since they're under, since they've only been expanded for 3-4 seasons now, they haven't established themselves. And he said that, like a professional team should have 5-6 whatever years under their belt. That was his argument.
Whatever it is, it's simply not okay. And I found this out before the expansion draft. So again, who knew we were going to lose? It looked like maybe we were going to lose Clifton or whatever it was going to be. I was already very pissed that the expansion draft was happening at all. And to find out that Vegas was excluded from it is absolutely not okay.
Can I be honest with you?
It's not okay.
I would say if you don't want Vegas to not have to pick someone, that's fine. Postpone Seattle's inaugural season to a couple more seasons until Vegas is already. It's already too close together.
Make them pick. If they're that dominant already, there's no reason. I mean, I could see if they're not making the playoffs and they're still building. So as a team.
Clearly this rule was probably written when they were expanded, assuming that 4 years from now they'll still probably be bottom of the league. And they don't. But they weren't because the expansion rules are shit. So they weren't bottom of the league 4 years from then. They're unbelievable and have been dominating the league because the expansion rules are way too lenient.
I mean, the thing about expansion, and it's tough because you're not really seeing this in any other league. NBA doesn't really have it. It doesn't have it at all. The NFL doesn't have this at all. So
we
it's
probably won't see it for a long time now.
and you probably won't see it until hockey smooths it out. I'll say that. But I think the main problem is you're looking at an expansion team and it's like, how do you fairly distribute players? Because you can't just take players from other teams. That's not fair. So the NHL's got to figure out a better way to make sure. I just don't think you should be competitive in your first couple of seasons, especially not.
You shouldn't be. The expansion draft should be set up so that you're really not able to be. I'm sorry, you're expanding. You're a new team. You don't get to be best in the league.
Well, no,
sorry.
I think personally, you shouldn't. I mean, I understand the NHL. Obviously, I mean, you're going to expand. I mean, there's more cities, there's more money and profit. Sorry, I'm stretching my legs. I just think that personally, if you're going to have an expansion team, okay, don't make a new expansion team. Announced it in, I think, 2019, 2020, and we're establishing it to be ready for 2021. But COVID pushed it back. Like, don't do that then.
I think what they should mostly make it is so you can, or they should just give a couple extra picks to you in the NHL draft, and then have a rule set out where it's like any guy that's under. I mean, this isn't that fair because there's good players that are young, but for the most part, just have any guy that's within his first 2 seasons. You can't lock a guy that's within his first 2 seasons in the league, and you just have a team full of a bunch of new young guys. Maybe they succeed, they probably don't, but either way, you're building up that team. And I don't know. I think that's how it should be set out instead of having a draft where you lock play. I don't know. It's
definitely like a tricky thing to figure out. And thank God it is what it is. It's over with. And now there's 32 teams in the NHL and probably won't see another expansion for a while, hopefully, knock on wood. But before we move on from Seattle really quickly, I can't not mention the Islanders because Yanni Gourde was the second best player taken in the expansion draft. But Tampa didn't have a choice because they had so many stars. They were going to lose a good player no matter what. The Islanders locked Matt Martin over their top line winger, Jordan Eberle. And Eberle ends up in Seattle after a final back-to-back trips to the Eastern Conference Finals and losses to the eventual champion Tampa Bay Lightning with him on your top line. It makes no sense to me. And I have a twin brother who's a diehard Jordan Eberle fan, and so I'm always hearing about Eberle, but it's not about that at all. I understand exactly what type of player Eberle is. He's not amazing, but he's very, very good and good enough to be locked in expansion draft, especially on a team where he's been on line 1 to 2 Eastern Conference Finals trips. It's unacceptable from that.
Let me give you an example. I think Jordan Eberle is the equivalent to our Chris Wagner. I mean, you may not always see him on the scoreboard there, but that guy shows it.
No, he's not. He's way better. I'm sorry.
He is better. Too, no, I'm saying, but like name on the when you look at him during those playoffs, he was the last name that you heard from most players on that team.
Well, it's weird especially coming off of playoffs like that where he was easily one of the best players on your team that was playing at the time. And coming off a playoff like that, it's hard to you just scratch your head. You just scratch your head. You're like, why wouldn't you lock him up after that playoff run? I can see if he has a bad playoffs, bad season, he might be a second thought. But if he's having I don't know.
I feel like, Justin, maybe I'm wrong. You tell me. But I feel like Matt Martin, I heard his name way too much this playoff series. During that Islander, I just feel like everywhere I went, it was Matt Martin, this Matt Martin, that whenever they played the Bruins. So I don't know if that contributed to something, that maybe he had a stellar season and they saw something in him. But I'm just saying, I remember when I watched post-game interviews, all I heard was Matt Martin, Matt Martin, Matt Martin. I didn't hear Jordan Eberle once. I'm being honest with you. The only time I heard Jordan Eberle was when they said the second, third line were not producing. And they were blaming a lot of it on some of the production on that end. And, Barzal hadn't scored until the Bruins series. So some of those guys have been real quiet. But all I heard was Matt Martin, Matt Martin, Matt Martin. And I'm just saying that sometimes those front office organizations, they see something in one guy they don't see in another, and they have a tough argument. And I'm sure it came down to a last-minute decision there. And I'm sure they didn't pick Jordan Eberle for a couple reasons. And, honestly, they still have a great team. I like Jordan Eberle. I'm not trying to compare him to Chris Wagner. I'm just trying to think off the top of my head who I think of a guy that's, that was doubted this season more than, in the past seasons he showed up for. And Wags was one of them. Coyle was another one. But
I don't. Again,
I hope the best for him, honestly, in Seattle, because he got fucking dicked. He really did get screwed over. But
he kind of got a little
they're-
dicked in
they're,
Edmonton as well. He got dicked.
he did. There are a couple of teams we definitely got to hit on though that have some fresh new looks
All right, can
to
we
them.
talk about Edmonton
roster
then?
wise.
Just like how Edmonton has always had a stellar team. Now they have another great team, and I feel like they're going to botch another season as well.
Well, they brought in Zach Hyman, so a great high flyer, one of the faster guys we have in the league to play on offense out there with Connor and Drad and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, and finally just hopefully get some secondary scoring going behind Connor and Draisaitl. But again, though, they don't have a goalie, so I don't know how good they can really be because they just didn't. They did not address. Yeah, but he's 38 years old. He's not good at this point. Like he's been there. He's been there for these couple last years. Like they're never gonna Connor McDavid and they're never gonna fix their problems if they don't have anybody guarding the goal. Like you need a goalie in the NHL to play at an elite level. It's hard. Like I feel bad for the Oilers. I feel bad for Connor. He's putting up Wayne Gretzky numbers, and like it just has no goalie. They can't win games.
Well, what they got is they got Warren Fogle extended now.
Yeah, they signed Cody Ceci to a fucking ton of money, which was that a good decision? Not really.
It just seems that the Oilers every season have a great team, but they're always missing one thing. They're either missing a defender, they're either missing a third line guy, they're either missing a goalie, which it seems the past couple seasons they've missed a goalie.
Sometimes all of the above too, honestly.
Sometimes all the above. I think the last couple seasons it's really been a goalie. They've really relied on Mike Smith and who was the other guy?
He's so old. And he's number 19. He's a younger kid. He's number 19. I always forget his name.
I think he was at my grandmother's wedding, for Christ's sake. He was awesome. God.
But yeah, I mean Edmonton, they did some things, but I don't know that they're going to be much better than they were this year. Chicago is a fun team that we definitely got to talk about because they've made a lot of moves. Yeah. The Blackhawks brought in Marc-Andre Fleury in a shocking turn of events, to be honest. And he said today, and Seth Jones and Caleb Jones to come play with him for Duncan Keith. They also, I don't know what you guys know about Jonathan Tay's story, but I'm pretty sure he more or less sat out last year for like mental purposes. And I don't know if he's going to be back this year, but if they could get Tays back, get back Captain Serious, they have Patty Kane, they have Alex DeBrincat, they got Kubalik, they got Kirby Doc. They all of a sudden have the Jones brothers on the back end. They have Fleury between the pipes.
Yep.
This team could make one last push with this type of core here in Chicago. I don't know. I like the moves they've made. I mean,
they already have how many cup wins in the past decade? Three appearances, 3 wins.
Yep. I think at least 2. I feel like it's 3. But yeah. So you never know. They could make one last push. And honestly, one of those cups that the Blackhawks won was against the Bruins on our home ice that is in the background of you right now, John. They lifted the cup right there. Yet still 10 years later almost, I'm finding myself honestly rooting for the Black. That would be fun to see Tays and Kane go at it one more time, make another run. That would be fun. That was must-see hockey. That was must-see TV when they were doing that in their primes. It'd be fun to see the Blackhawks good again. But you'll see, they made a lot of good moves.
Yeah, they made a lot of good moves. Even, Toronto definitely made a couple good. Actually, the Canucks made a couple. They locked up Ekman Larson and Connor Garland from the Coyotes.
Yep.
They did get Halak. So they got him on the back end. A little age there, but they got Halak. Trying to look through what else they got. I don't think they got much else that was crazy.
But for sure, picking up Ekman Larson is a big deal.
But I know
big contract, obviously, but also
big contract.
Big deal.
I know the Canadians.
Speaking of big contracts, Dougie Hamilton signed $9 million per season for 7 years in New Jersey. Which Dougie Hamilton is a great player. He got spent time in Boston, obviously, and I've loved. He's only got better since he left Boston, and I am a big fan of Dougie Hamilton. But that's a lot of money. I'm sorry. I get he's one of the better defenders we have in the league, but that's a lot of money for a lot of years. 7 years from now, you want to be paying Dougie Hamilton $9 million? I don't know, but we'll see. For now, that's a big deal. Love to see Dougie getting paid.
Well, is that the biggest? Is that the biggest deal?
No. So Alex Ovechkin in this offseason, or you mean in the entire league?
In this offseason.
This offseason, no, actually. Braden Point and Alex Ovechkin both signed for $9.5 million. For Points was, I think, 8 years, and Alex Ovechkin's was 5 years. So 9.5. Dougie signed for 9. But Alex Ovechkin signing 5 more years was pretty crazy. Honestly, he's getting up there. I did not see a 5-year deal coming.
How old? He's getting older.
Another good question. I'll find out right now. But yeah, he's 35. So he just signed through 40 years old for $10 million. I mean, again, Ovechkin, legend. 5 years from now, you want to be paying him $10 million? I don't know. Maybe. Yeah, maybe. I mean, definitely worth it. At that point, he's such an established veteran in Washington. Like, whatever he asks for, you got to give him. They don't really have a choice. But
yeah, $10 million is kind of a choice, though. I'd probably go half that. I mean,
and Braden Point just signed for 10, and Braden Point is super young. That makes a lot of sense. Ovi at 35 is crazy.
They want to keep Ovi forever till his dying.
Yeah, I get that. But he's already on the decline. To give him a max type contract, max isn't a thing in hockey. But
you really need to be you be locking up for less money so you can sign other guys. I mean, the Caps really do need players at this point. They need someone to really send them through.
They really do, and they need like a real goalie to build around.
Oh, they do. But honestly, I mean, I'm looking through at the moment with as well on. I mean, Carolina had some huge pickups. They got Frederick Anderson and Anthony Ratna.
Yep. So they went from the goalie tandem of Mrazek and Nedeljkovic to the goalie tandem of Ranta and Anderson. So kind of a downgrade, probably, I'd say.
Honestly, a downgrade because now you've lost Mrazek to Toronto, which is actually a pickup for them because Anderson was kind of getting up there.
Yeah.
And I mean, even Nedeljkovic, I thought, was doing pretty good in the playoff series. I thought, honestly, he might as well.
And Nedeljkovic, did Nedeljkovic end up on the Flyers, right?
He did, I believe. Yep, he did.
Nedeljkovic.
And
Red Wings, that's huge for the Red Wings, who are the worst team in the league with no light at all, except for Dylan Larkin, and finally they get a young, good goalie. That's big for them. But the other team I wanted to talk about for sure, though, was the Flyers, because they brought in Ryan Ellis from Nashville, Rasmus Ristolainen from Buffalo. That's just an unbelievable deep pairing they just brought in there. They bring in Cam Atkinson from Columbus for Voracek. So, they're making a lot of moves. The Flyers, that Flyer team could be nice. That Flyer team could be nice too. Don't sleep on them.
It could be.
Ryan Ellis, Rasmus Ristolainen, and Cam Atkinson aren't small additions. That's 3 great additions. So
no, that's great additions there. I mean, even the Wild, Dmitry Kulikov, they picked up. That was a big one for them. I mean, there were a lot of big pickups from teams. It seems like Calgary picked up a couple big guys as well. They picked up.
Well, Calgary paid Blake Coleman a lot of money, and we'll see how that contract looks.
So Lightning have now lost Yanni Gord and Blake Coleman. I mean, the Wild even signed Alex Goglikowski. Sorry.
The Flyers also got Martin Jones from the Sharks. I didn't even realize that. Martin Jones and Carter Hart.
Yep, and Dallas picked up Ryan Suter, who was bought out from the Wild.
Yep, and Zach Parise was bought out as well. Yep.
Nice pickup there.
Basically, Pavel Buchnevich from the Rangers to the Blues. It's probably the last giant thing. That was crazy. Buchnevich. Why would the Rangers give up on Buchnevich this young? Why would they do that?
And the Rangers also just picked up Ryan Reeves and extended him.
You're right.
He's a body for them, but I don't know why you get rid of him.
But come on now. Dude, how are you giving up on Buch that young, dude? That's ridiculous. And now the Blues just got him for 4 years, $6 million per. That's honestly kind of a steal. And the Blues and Tarasenko could still be with the Blues too. Like the Blues probably could just be really nice again next year after a really down year.
Two other big pickups that I have to throw out there. Actually 3. Mike Hoffman to the Canadiens for 3 years, 4.5. You got some veteran status there for the Canadiens, and the Canadiens, I think, signed.
They picked up David Savard. and Armia and Cedric Paquette. So yeah,
Yep.
they made a couple of
And
signings.
the other two big ones are Alex Edler, 3.5 1 year to LA, and Philip Deneau, 6 years, 5.5 to LA as well, Kings.
And Andreas Athanasiou to the Kings.
Yep.
So,
And last other one I know is Corey Perry actually got signed by the Lightning for 2 years, $1 million, which is honestly a good pickup. I'm kind of happy with that.
they definitely, they lost some depth because of free agency and expansion draft and stuff this year after a couple championship runs. So to just pick up a veteran like that for the back lines.
And actually, the other big one I'm surprised you didn't, Brandon Saad, 5 years, $22.5 million.
The other thing, Brandon Saad. Yep, I did see that. And Will Butcher, the Hobie Baker winning defender from a couple of years ago, he went to Denver, if you remember. When they won the whole thing, or did they win the whole thing? They went to the finals at least. But either way, he ended up on the Devils as like a really talented young defensive prospect. They already gave up on him. He's gone to the to the Sabres rather. How are you giving up on guys this young?
A lot of guys
Why do people do that, bro? Why do people do that?
I'm happy to see teams keeping, like Lankinen is re-signed by the Canadians, and Bertuzzi was re-signed by the Wings. It seems like Riley Nash is now gone from Toronto. He's now over to the Jets. 1 year, $750,000. That's it. $750K. This guy is literally on his last leg at this point. You're signing him for that was like a Jerome McGinley signing there. That was like a last resort. But I mean, we could go through this all day. There's even more.
We could, but that's
some of them definitely. I will say.
Yeah.
There were a lot of small name trades. Another big one though was I think you already said it. Maybe Zach Werenski was extended by Columbus.
I didn't say it, but that's
9.5.
Huge.
9.5.
But Columbus, it feels like a lot of things are going south for Columbus lately, but they have made some good signings this year. So
yeah, I mean, they re-signed
Line
to a 1 year. Ducks re-signed Getzlaf. Actually, I thought Getzlaf was going to get picked up by the expansion draft, which would have been smart. No.
You guys haven't heard any news on if the NHL is they're gonna do a normal season, or are they gonna go back to the?
I have not heard any new news, but I know the NFL, I think I've heard, is staying for 100% capacity.
I think they're trying to wait. They're trying to wait.
But boy, I know that's a whole other thing that I really don't want to get into. But boy, if COVID goes south,
we won't
even talk about it. We won't even talk about it.
Hold on, let's do a quick overview right now of also the Gabriel Landeskog getting re-signed. But so it looks like the Lightning have lost Tyler Johnson, Yanni Gourde, Blake Coleman, and then there was one more. David Savard.
Yep.
But they re-signed Braden Point, but still, that's a lot of depth there they lost.
Yeah.
And even Toronto lost, Foligno and Nash, and here's my thing though.
Toronto is screwed, bro.
I will say this.
Toronto pays $24 million to Matthews and Marner alone. You know who makes $24 million combined on the Bruins? Pasta, Bergie, Marshy, and Hall. And that's our 4 best players to their 2 best players.
Let me say
the
this.
same amount of money.
I'll say this, and we can wrap it up in a minute. We can wrap it up in a minute if you want. But what I will say is, Lightning obviously going over cap. They're going to lose a lot of guys. Understandable. They made a lot of good deals, I think, getting guys back. Toronto has year after year signed guys who have just left their teams, like Wayne Simmons, and picked up great picks for God knows how much money. And now these guys see how much money they're actually worth, and they're on a shitty team because they're just not producing. And so they ask for more money, and Toronto doesn't have money. Toronto has to pay their top 2, just like you said. They got to pay the top 2 $24 million, and the Bruins do it in a way, and other teams do too, where the players aren't as selfish like that. You know what I mean?
People take pay cuts to play here.
They take a pay cut. Hall could have easily signed a huge deal somewhere else because he had an unbelievable season.
He could have. And our top line's been taking pay cuts for years.
Because they know that if they stick together, they got a cup in them if they stick together till their retirement.
Yeah.
And they also know that you can't afford to get over the hump as a franchise, as a team, to win a cup if you go and sign a contract like that. Why would we pin ourselves down by signing something like that? Yeah.
Hockey's one of those sports where you need a lot of You need a lot of guys. You need multiple lines to win a championship. You can't just have
right
3 or 4 guys that win it all for you. So, yeah, that's gonna sit with them this season. I don't know, but it was
Toronto's in a bad spot. Toronto will never be able to get over the hump. I'm calling it now. They're never winning a cup there. Hopefully, Austin Matthews can get out because I do like Matthews as a player, as a USA guy, but he needs to get the hell out of there. He's never winning shit.
Yeah, but a lot of good, not good and bad, but a lot of good NHL moves.
NHL news, yeah, for sure, dude. It was a crazy week, and we got next week we'll have to get an NBA one because NBA free agency and draft just happened, and free agency's tomorrow. So crazy shit with that's going to go down tomorrow and stuff the next few days.
We got a lot of shit coming your way, guys.
The only thing I was going to mention was I wanted your thoughts on. We'll give a little preview to the viewers on Russ is now a Laker. So,
dude, yeah, I know.
I was talking to Justin though. A little preview. I talked to Justin about this the other day. We'll end it real quick. But Russ goes to the Lakers. That helps the Lakers. I personally think it was a mutually beneficial deal because now the Wizards got some pretty strengthy guys that can back them up on a core because they couldn't run it with just Beal and Russ. It was they didn't have a strong enough core there. Now they got Kuz, Kentavious, and they could also deal a couple of those guys for someone else if they had to. They got stuff to work with here, is what I'm saying. And they got picks out of it. So I think it honestly was beneficial. And plus, Russ is getting up there in age. He had a stellar season. If he had stayed, Russ would have either had to been a free agent and leave or retire and leave. Like there was no other way out that would have benefited them. You know what I mean? And I think they made a good deal. That's just my opinion on it. I think they got shit to work with now. Picks, young guy. I said to Justin, watch it. Wizards are going to have a comeback season at some point. I personally think, not saying next year, but I think that they have a build up.
Justin, you want to give anything to preview our viewers?
Yeah, I'll say I think it's going to be interesting to see probably the two best playmakers in the league on the same team fighting over the same ball. They both average double-digit assists. I don't know how that's going to work. I don't know how Russ necessarily fits into a LeBron-led offense. It's going to be crazy to see. I still think, if healthy, the Brooklyn Big Three is better than the Laker Big Three. But I don't think that there's you can't make any assumptions nowadays that you can assume health. I don't think you can assume health. Because the Nets Big Three to be all healthy at the same exact time for a 7-game series in an NBA Finals or a full 4 series in a full-on playoff run, I just don't know that the Nets really, if those 3 guys have it in them to be healthy that long. I really don't.
Yeah. But I will say, I think Bucks will still probably be a good team next year. Maybe the 76ers. Obviously, we still got to look for the Jazz and the Suns. Jazz kind of blew up there in the playoffs, like we said. They were a great regular season team. But I'm personally, as of right now, going to call it. You got to Lakers, Nets with the teams that they're looking like, the Big Three versus the Big Three. That's what it's looking like right now, and I would love to see that. Harden, Russ again, LeBron, Kyrie.
Yeah, I would love to see it, but I'd also love to see them get bounced in the Eastern Conference Finals and Jason and Jalen take them down.
No. I know, but I'm just going to call it. I'm just going to call it. I agree. I'm just going to call
Save it for next
Save it for next week.
Thank you for everybody for listening, and we'll see you guys soon.
We're out.
Peace.